he turns out to be a really crook bloke, then I never liked him, and he's scum. But at the minute, no, there's none of these women are complaining about physical closeness, and I think a lot of it is just that we're very British. Do you know what I mean? We're very reserved and just kind of like, that woman touched his neck. They must be fucking. No, not necessarily.
You
I
there.
was talking
You there, that's what you call fun, buddy.
yeah. I was talking to my brother about this, and I was like, we're just really reserved, and I'll never forget, like, when Family Guy called our, like, English people completely out on it, when they were, like, visiting this country, and they were like, oh, no, look, it's British porn. Just a guy lying on top of a woman, not moving, going, almost, almost, almost. There we are. And she just goes, oh, well done. Yep, that is sadly exactly what we're like. But anyway, well, welcome to this video, if that stayed.
God,
that was definitely worth tuning in for.
That was fantastic right there. But sadly, people may never have heard that. I don't. Maybe that got lost in the negative zone. Who knows?
George, if you're listening, edit this out, and we'll me and Connor will keep these bits and just watch them in a dark room together at some time.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Do you want to start your podcast? It is yours. So.
Let's all rather keep it short and sweet, but let's all people find people at home, or if you're watching this at the cinema somehow. I mean, who's got the money these days to rent a cinema video? Or who's got the money to rent a cinema for a private film, let alone a YouTube video? But in case
they keep on asking me to,
some random Cineworld or some random Odeon, then thanks for listening, and let's take our first steps, especially for those that have tuned in for the last 4. Well, by the time they come out, it's not going to be quite 4 weeks, but again, edit magic. 10 to 4-ish weeks by the time the previous videos come out in our Fantastic Four retrospect 4-stick reviews.
I don't know. I think George might just slap this up early in the middle of them. Who knows?
Oh, okay. So this is technically episode 2. Essentially, this is the finale, chronologically, at time of recording, of our fantastic retrospective across the Fantastic Four films. But we're finally have taken our first steps into the MCU Phase 6 and into a, well, to quote George Orwell, a brave new world? Or is it more or less the same?
Well, I mean, I shouldn't really be saying these things because it usually comes back to bite you, but it couldn't get much worse than the 4 films we already reviewed. And I am pleased to say that thankfully this is orders of magnitude better than every single one of them. In fact, if you piled all 4 of those together into one epic super film, it would still be just terrible, and this film would be great.
Just like the Snyder Cut.
Boo.
Yeah, boo, DC, boo. Yeah, no, DC's old news. Superman was last week / 5 weeks ago. This is now Marvel's time to shine.
That's the weird thing you were saying off air. I think you were texting or something, and you said it feels like, and it feels to me like I saw this film like 2 years ago, and it was only like 4 days, and it feels like Superman was like 10 years ago, like a week or 2 maybe. Like, God, man.
Yeah, mentally, yeah, and that's not even counted across George's life in the last week and a bit.
Yes,
dramatizing that a little bit in our private group chat, but it genuinely, like, movie review professionalism aside, it does generally feel like a fortnight and more ago since we talked about Superman, and the spoiler-free roasted the shite out of it.
Yeah, so if anybody's still around after that, hey, welcome. But we should also have said congratulations to George on his big arrival, something slightly more important than a film review, so that's why he's not here. So yes,
and on his second Herald. He's second Herald in the family.
Second Herald, yes.
He's second.
You did see he now has his very own Thor and Loki. Hopefully, you're going to raise them better than that. But no, seriously, huge congrats to George and his missus. And yeah, that's why he is off looking after 2 children now. So he is Marvel's first family of the Pasty Sheep world.
Oh, Pasty Comics one day. Let's get that trademarked.
Oh, that would be awesome. Just you and George as the Stanley and Jack Kirby of Pasty Sheep Comics.
Oh yeah, that would be the dream. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, well, I haven't got anything super prepared for this one because, like I said, I completely forgot it was happening because it feels like last year I watched the movie. So, but no, I've got my letterbox review and I've got my thoughts, so I'm gonna try and wing it. And yeah, but did you want to start us off and tell everyone what we're reviewing today officially?
Officially, in case you guys haven't read the title of the video or even read the title of our StreamYard stream, we're going to be talking about Fantastic Four. It's not the first steps. I just want to say the first steps every time. But Fantastic Four, First Steps, 2025, first movie of Phase 6, and it's a brave new world. Brave new universe that's adjacent to other MCU projects. So for those newcomers or new tuners that haven't exactly bothered to do their Marvel homework, rejoice, because you guys haven't had to do no revision. You've had to do no homework as such. You can literally just watch any adaptation of Fantastic Four that, again, it hasn't been connected, minus Deadpool and Wolverine's Chris Evans, Human Torch, and you can just go into this new one without knowing nothing prior and be rewarded and come out the same people that we did for us MCU sad nerds. I hope.
Indeed. No, I had completely forgotten this was the start of Phase 6. It's yeah. I usually do keep track of these things quite nerdily, but yeah, you're right. This is the first in Phase 6. But no, I did think that was a very nice touch as well. That obviously this isn't the main Marvel universe, which is, they claim 616, but that's the comics, and so it's actually supposed to be 1999999. But in any case, I did like that they labeled this one as Earth 828 because that's Jack Kirby's birthday, August 28th, which was the kind of nice tribute to him. I was like, oh, that was really sweet. It didn't even occur to me, but it does tell you this during the tribute at the end credits. So I was like, oh, that's nice. Because, there's a lot of Jack Kirby in this movie. I have to say that if you're a massive Fantastic Four fan, especially of those early comics, very much a lot of, some might say cheesy.
That's the only bit of revision I'd say. It's not even MCU homework. Is it? If you any subscribers, or again, if you've got the money to get the physical collection, then more power to you. But for those that are on a bit more of a budget and you do want to do a bit of trivia reading or just a bit of curiosity as to where to start reading, this film literally handholds and is a love letter and an absolute flame of the 1960s original Kirby and Stan Lee run, which I have been currently doing anyway. So as soon as the film, without the first 10-15 minutes, I literally sort of almost wept and tears genuinely came out of my eye because I thought, oh my god, I literally read this like 3 issues ago. It's that series, but on the big screen, and that is. From what I gather, and without sort of divulging into the whole comics run, because again, we'll be here for another 3 hours, but essentially the 60s original Kirby Lee run is like one of the best runs, if not like the peak. And an excellent series. That really did start the comic universe off.
It did. There is some 1960s-ishness that you kind of have to get over. Like, you're probably going to find a lot of the dialogue and stuff quite cheesy when you read these comics, but if you can forgive that, the ideas and the concepts are what you're there for, and they're just amazing. I mean, the idea of Galactus, this came from like somebody's brain. Like Stan Lee thought of this idea. Jack Kirby amazingly, beautifully visualized like Galactus and the Silver Surfer. And it's like, what drugs were you on? As far as I know, none. I should clarify, and kids don't do drugs. But it's like, geez, man, what were you thinking? When you're like, yeah, how about this gigantic cosmic dude with a funky helmet that just eats planets? Yeah, sure, why not?
Funky helmet, funky.
Oh man, it was so good. It was so good seeing all that Jack Kirby art goodness and not having Galactus trapped in a fart cloud.
Well, exactly. Imagine if it was him for 2/3 of the movie just going and he rips out of the third act. He finally gets out of the third act.
Give me the baby so that I may finally fart.
Exactly. That may finally fart. Fart lactose.
Anyway, but we mock. But no, I loved it. I loved that, and I loved that it's. I think I already said this. If not to you, then I definitely said it on our Discord to our friend Toby or somebody. That I love this universe. I love that it's 1960s aesthetic, but it's obviously not supposed to literally be the 60s. It's current day, but everything has that kind of 60s Art Deco, pop art kind of look to it and everything, and it looks so cool, and everybody looks awesome. All of the kind of fashion and everything, all of the architecture and stuff. and because it fits the Fantastic Four so well, you know. So
It
it
is
was such a
literally the
good call.
definition of it is literally the definition of retro futuristic.
Yes.
Even like with my cheesy image, it's presented in like it's Fantavision, which is Fantavision was an older, or it is and wasn't called Fantavision. It's like VistaVision was a classic way of filming some movies, and it was like an older format for old school movies. And like this movie just doesn't have the gimmick of looking retro for the sake of being retro, because it's so sci-fi that again, even like again, not having read every single comic ever, aside from the origin stories of the previous movies, I didn't really realize how sci-fi the actual Fantastic Four, like the comics and this movie were. This movie is you can compare it to, say, Interstellar. You can compare it to other sci-fi. Herbie. Literally, I had R2D2 in my head the whole time, just from the sound effects, not from the book. I kept thinking of R2D2. This movie is a full-on sci-fi flick. You go into space for a bit longer than I was expecting, and certainly weren't in the trailers, from what I gather. It's really
they're not going to spoil that in the trailer, are they?
Oh no, of course, no. But still, this is a true sci-fi, and really, the Fantastic Four were just sci-fi, aside from getting hit by an orange sun in space, because that's all that was my introduction to sci-fi. Fantastic Four, it was just We saw that 4 previous adaptations, but it's so much more sci-fi than just them getting their powers and then being stuck on Earth.
Absolutely. Somebody that I saw on social media did say that they were a fan of Interstellar, so they loved the wormhole scene because it was almost reminiscent of that. There is bits of that, and on the subject of like scale and sci-fi and how cool it is, my little brother, my younger brother, I should say, he's not little, is always complaining about like, well, I just thought Galactus was supposed to be like humongous, like he literally eats planets, and I'm like, no, he's got a big ship and everything, but I mean, he is huge, but and I'm always like, kids these days, they want everything to be just, but I'm like, there is no point in this film where you get the sense that he's in any way small, and that first scene when they go to his ship. They first get off a ship and you just see like the 2 glowing eyes in like space, and you're like, oh shit, this thing is huge, Because at this point they don't know what he is, and you just the 2 glowing eyes. Then he appears and he's freaking like massively tall, and obviously sitting in his chair at that point and just like, speak to me. I was like, how are you not bricking yourself and just running the F out of there at this point, But
exactly,
so he's just so well presented. And how cool is that? I mean, I really want a poster of that cool image when Johnny's chasing the female Silver Surfer into space, and she just turns around and sort of slightly kneels on her board, which he's clinging on the end of. I was like, this is beautiful.
The cinematography is good. I mean, I feel like I've in our previous episodes, we did sort of give some complimentary shots to some of the previous ones anyway, especially like comparing the appropriate Silver Surfer to the so apt Rise of Silver Surfer. Like, there's a lot of similarities in some of the sequences with Human Torch and Silver Surfer, without addressing that elephant in the room, because again, people would like to bring it up, but the fact that the Surfer's female, again, I view it like the Doctor from Doctor Who. Like, I totally forgot like gender characteristics of what I was watching. I was just fascinated by a silver alien on a surfboard that was kick-ass. I didn't really
matter to me, because I thought the actress Julia Garner was so fucking fantastic and so portrayed that kind of like, I'm sleepwalking through because I don't want to think about this, but then to even show the flashback of like when she was a person and her getting the kind of silver coating and everything, I was like, this is just amazing, and it doesn't matter. And I said this on one of our other podcasts at another point to George when he was talking about people complaining. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's the same story, whether you use the husband or the wife. It's literally the same. So what difference does it make? It's not just like, we're gender swapping a character. No, it's always about either the husband or the wife of that relationship, and the story doesn't change otherwise. So, and this way you also get to have Johnny chasing after her and being a bit like, ooh, hot girl, naked girl made of silver. So,
But even going into Johnny, and I mean, we will break down individual members, but Johnny was a bit more than just female flirter in this movie. Like, he actually surprised me. Or this interpretation surprised me.
He still obviously did have the thing of like, he loves the ladies, but he wasn't like the Chris Evans one. I think at the time fit a bit better, but now watching it back, it's like he's such a creep. That it's like it's hard, but then you get the sense that like no, this Johnny likes the ladies and he's probably popular enough, and with them he gets. But more importantly, he's the first time that I felt like he wasn't just like, oh, we're carrying him on the team, but he's really like a bit of a jerk, and he's not skilled in anything, but he's Sue's little brother. I was like, no, he is absolutely competent in his own right, and he knows his shit, and he's not dumb.
He's actually got a brain. He's got a brain, and he figures something that, all right, it's sort of inspired by Reed's idea, but I was impressed just by Johnny translating again without, well, I might as well go into it now, but the surfers' language. I mean, Johnny figured it out. It's off of Reed's calculation. Johnny did it. Johnny's got a brain. Johnny's not just a womanizer. And just like everything you just said, he's actually he has more character. He's got brains. He might as well be.
It never made any sense, and it was never really the case in the comics. I mean, he was always a bit flirtatious, but it was the 60s. But he was always a superhero in his own right. That's how he can go off and have like team ups with Spider-Man and stuff. And it's like he's not just stupid. He's not just like this hothead that's like, okay, there's the three of us that have got skills, and then this dude that makes up the four. It's like, no, he's good. He's capable. But he would have to be. He's on the mission for a reason. And it's not just like I said, it's not just, well, it's Sue's brother, let him come. It's like, no, he was there doing the job when you went on that space mission and got your powers in the first place. So he can't be that dumb. Although credit where it's due, they didn't actually make him out that dumb in the Michael B. Jordan version either. He was also pretty capable and quite smart. So.
No, it's just I just was expecting just a more typical interpretation of Johnny, but then when the plot kicks in and you expect Reed and his stretchy board marker pen to come up with all the ideas, it was actually Johnny's mouth that came out with the answers, and it was really like oh damn, it was nice. Exactly. It was a chain.
But it wasn't like Reed didn't get to do anything. It was like, as Johnny said, like he's busy. He's trying to teleport the world, so I should probably handle this, in the meantime. So.
Yeah, teleport the world with an idea that, again, without criticizing. Again, we're doing this in a really weird order, but like, did that idea seem as logical as it could be to you, or did it seem? I absolutely
loved it. It was 1,000,000% exactly what Reed Richards in the comic would do. I was like, this is exactly the kind of crazy shit where you're reading it and you're like, what? But it's Reed Richards, so he would absolutely be like, yeah, why not?
Him trying to hop a universe, because essentially they've got to get away from Galactus. They're not just breaking the synopsis down on an online article, but essentially they've got to get away from Galactus. The title First Steps is alluding to the Fantastic Four's child, but which child is it? Well, it's the first child. It's the First Steps. It's man like me. Franklin Richards, who, again, from what I know little of in the comics, is a pretty powerful child and important to the whole universe and can surpass Galactus, which is why Galactus wants to eat him and feast on his soul in this movie.
Yeah, I can give you an education on Franklin Richards, but interestingly enough, they haven't really addressed it many places, but I was kind of intrigued that they went there with Galactus, because he's never really been like, I want the child, he can take my power, but in the first time that you see the female Silver Surfer, it's like an alternate universe, Earth X. And in that universe, Franklin is their Galactus. So they're kind of feeding on that comic to kind of feed into this as well. So I was like, oh, okay, interesting. I like that you're bringing that in, even though it was like, it's not the main Marvel universe. Obviously, it's like, this is some obscure other Earth somewhere, but we want to tell this story because it kind of gets quite apocalyptic, and that way you can do that. But I was like, still. But no, Franklin Richards is... I think he's often been called the single most powerful being in the Marvel universe, to the point that when they wanted to reboot, like in the 90s, it was popular to reboot everything and like start like, we want to get rid of all this continuity. So they tried to reboot the kind of the main Marvel stuff and the main Avengers as this thing called Heroes Reborn. So it was like, it's a whole new start. You can start from the beginning, Iron Man, Captain America, etc., starting right here. And it proved so massively unpopular that naturally, like, I think it barely lasted a year, and they had to find a way to undo it. And the way they did that was just to say that, Franklin Richards created a pocket universe that he sent these things like our familiar Cap and Iron Man and stuff into, and they changed into these new ones. But now they've come back out of that universe, and they're the ones you recognize and love the whole time. And I'm like,
So in universe, they made Franklin their fuck up.
basically, yeah, it was like, no, he created the pocket universe where Heroes Reborn happened, and it still did happen and everything. But yeah, never mind. We've gone back to the ones you know.
Oh, as you do.
As they always do.
Yeah. Gotta love them.
But no, I mean, Franklin, absolute uber, it's huge, like, reality altering powers on levels you can't begin to comprehend. But I'm sure they're not going to get heavily into, although they might. I mean, Secret Wars is coming up. That's one way to.
I mean, incursions. He in a way, I feel like he could be the walking, living incursion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, without sort of spoiling future plot points that may or may not definitely happen.
I mean, spoiler alert for the post credits of this film. It might explain why Dr. Doom seems to be visiting him and kind of like, you'll do. You'll do. You seem to have the power to create, whatever merged battle worlds I clearly want to for the next Avengers films.
You there, boy. You're coming with me right the fuck now.
Now, he's played by Robert Downey Jr., not Matt Berry. Matt Berry's Dr. Doom would be much better.
He's always in my head. Matt Berry. Every role, when I interpret their role, don't disrespect the actor, I just imagine Matt Berry's voice.
Yes, I'm going to kidnap your child because I really am the most devious bastard in all of Latveria. Etc. Oh, my face is not scarred. I'm too pretty for that.
But
anyway,
no. But yeah, Doom aside, because he did have to make a appearance in this fantastic movie.
I could have lived without it. I preferred the little sort of slight Easter egg at the start where it's like, and all of the nations of the world have made peace, and then it cuts over into one that's not there. Like Latveria.
Latveria was empty. Yeah, that would have been enough. I agree with that. That would have been enough. But yeah. Alas, Doctor Doom, he again not the focus of this movie, which again every other adaptation prior has had Doom in a bigger role than
exactly.
he should.
Good point.
Although actually nice to see. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, if you forgive me, because I did want to. Whilst I remember you kind of jogged my memory about that, is that this is so unashamed of the Fantastic Four comics and the kind of the more silly villains. And I think the sheer amount of them that are in there as Easter eggs is just absolutely insane. Even with them having cut John Malkovich's Red Ghost, we still see one of his super apes and see them fighting him. And they name check so many. Like I can't even remember like the Wizard, Red Ghost,
Puppet Master. I feel like
Puppet Master. Yeah. Just every Fantastic Four villain, and then obviously Mole Man appears and has like a sort of semi-significant role in it. Paul Walter Hauser. And they gave him the stupid-looking glasses and everything. I was like, "Oh, I love this." It's not ashamed.
The glasses were brilliant. Yeah, the glasses just made. Yeah, this whole movie, like I tried to say earlier, like in the first 10 minutes, when I actually knew that this was full-on acknowledging and respecting the '60s, which again I'm slowly figuring out as we've been doing this series of reviews anyway. This whole movie, compared to Superman, I could not stop smiling the whole time. Even I could not stop. I had the biggest grin on my face pretty much the whole time of this movie. Even when this movie does get into some more emotional beats and you actually feel the threat of the planet eater Galactus, you genuinely just want to just see this thing unfold and enjoy every slice of it. There's no real time to slow down. The film doesn't lull around. I was slightly concerned on paper about the runtime of an hour and 50, which is the shortest marathon for a while. But
I think it could have been longer, to be honest, judging by how much we know they could. Like I said, we know they cut John Malkovich, probably quite a bit of Natasha Lyonne because she's not in this as much as I'd have liked. And there's other deleted scenes that have come out. I was like, if there was a reason for it, and then fair enough. But if you could have made it longer and you just didn't because you are worried about this, like I really would have preferred a lot. But then again, I would have said the same thing, even though we didn't love it about Superman. Like these are the two examples where I'm like, you've went the opposite way, and I'd rather have had longer movies in both of these cases. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I loved whatever we got of the runtime. I pretty much loved and could not stop smiling.
Oh, look, it meant that the pace was,
adored just this universe, this world, as we keep messaging off camera, like we just were fascinated by this universe and this world, and the presentation, which again could have just been a gimmick, but it's a gimmick that we just want the Marvel universe to have. We want 616 to go to them, and we don't want them to come to us. We want the MCU to go into their world.
It's kind of been the MCU's strength to do like comic accurate costumes, or as close to it as you can get, and whatever, and kind of embrace some of the things that would have been considered silly back in the day when we had, the 2000s came along, and it was like, we're not going to put Elektra in that costume, and we're going to make this costume look more like, well, kind of like this kind of Smallville CW effect, where it's like, we're going to make something that looks like the costume, but it's basically like a hoodie or a leather jacket or whatever. Like, no, just give them the costumes and the silliness and lead into it. And the MCU used to be good for that, but it's kind of getting more and more drab, and it all looks the same. And, as you deal with things like Thunderbolts that are all about like, oh, they're all depressed and things are kind of sad. And I was like, so relieved to come to this world and have it like bright, colorful, silly costumes. Like, yay, exactly. Why can't we do this? Why were we so scared of this? Especially like having watched, like you said, the first 4 attempts at the Fantastic Four, where the majority of them are just like, we'll dip our toe in, but we're not going fully into this kind of. And the last one we watched, the freaking 2015 disaster, it was just like, it seemed like it was ashamed to be the Fantastic Four in any way.
It was literally, it felt like a movie just made to keep the license, which in some case Fox was doing just that, and they literally took the color palette, shoved it in a dirty washing machine, didn't actually turn the washing machine on, and just went, there you go, fantastic. The movie.
But this film just gets, though, that you don't try to do dark and gritty and hyper realism. It's just like, nope, we're gonna have them fighting, gigantic talking apes, universe eating people in funny hats, and these comic booky villains, the Mole Man in his daft glasses and his arrogant, like, yeah, I don't like you, Reed kind of attitude, But I just love it. It was. Yeah, I'm just so relieved to be able to not have to tell everybody that the best Fantastic Four film is The Incredibles anymore.
It would have been a nice Easter egg. I mean, again, I say Easter egg, how it would have happened. Well, it's Pixar. It could have. If another team of 4 heroes like The Incredibles did exist in their universe, because we alluded to, and we see the cartoon that was named up in the trailer. We see the cartoon, which was great.
It's so good. It's the 60s cartoon, but with like their likenesses. Although the only one that looks really any different is like Pedro Pascal with his little cartoon mustache. But still, it was so cool.
Yeah, he's forever changed the face of Reed Richards throughout history.
Yeah, but he is right. When he shaved it off for Wonder Woman 2, he did look terrible. So it's understandable he wouldn't want to do that again. So, at least they gave him the grey temples. So that was fine.
Yes, the comic actor.
Oh, that's what I was going to say, because you did bring it up. Did you not see the? It's not in the film, but like as part of the promo after it was doing well this weekend, that they brought out a crossover thing where it's 2 images, and the first one is the Fantastic Four from this film as the Incredibles, and the other one is the Incredibles as this Fantastic Four. They've switched like costumes and colors and the images and palette and stuff. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And on the subject of Easter eggs, as I will say, I didn't spot this, but it's been all over the internet since. Did you spot the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby cameo in Fantastic Four?
I've read it, but I did not personally see it.
I spotted the sign for Timely Comics, but I didn't see the 2 people in who were clearly meant to be Stan and Jack. And having seen it now online and people pointing it out, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And yeah, it's absolutely them. So, yeah. Sweet.
And even I asked you a question, and again, something that I thought was happening in the film that was definitely alluded to in my perception, but of a certain Watcher. And we're not talking about us, the audience, but the actual Watcher, Jeffrey Wright, I thought was in the movie. And yet, I think in that same scene, he's in that Timely comic bit as an Easter egg. The Watcher is in the film, but not in the movie.
There's a picture of him, like a comic book cover of him in that building somewhere. Yes, I was like, oh, again, nice touch. And speaking of, again, I'm remembering all of these, but that other Easter egg that I really loved, even though it's only on screen for a second, but taking the time to recreate the cover of issue 1 of them fighting Giganta, the kind of sewer monster-y thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that is just so incredible. You didn't need to do that, but it would just look amazing. I mean, it's 2 seconds, and it just gives fans so much joy to be like, "Yay! I totally recognize this thing." But
Yeah, no, genuinely, yeah. Even Giganto being in the street, and like I say, they do the comic thing, but they actually show him in the street, almost in the same pose as the comic. It was just,
it's
it was a
no,
really
it is
good
exactly
line.
recreated. Like I said, it's just a total.
Yeah,
It's
it's
you know what
right.
it's kind of like actually when they recreate the Captain America punching Hitler comic cover in Cap the First Avenger, and yeah, I would say there's a lot of this I think that I would compare to that, because like First Avenger, it's kind of a period piece that embraces the comics, the very early comics from, like, in that case the 40s, in this case the 60s, and seems to exist in its own world without being bogged down in, like, oh, you've got to have seen these other 20 films or whatever. Not that I ever haven't anyway, but still, it's got to be nice for a regular non-nerds to, as you said, be able to plug into this movie and just go, oh, I don't have to watch anything else. It doesn't tie into anything yet.
Yeah. No homework required. Yeah, but for now, like really, the only homework aside from the Avengers movies like Doomsday and Secret Wars would then lead. The only other homework that this would come up in is Fantastic Four 2. Should it get a sequel, which I bloody hope it does.
It should. Yeah.
It
I really don't want their world to go away. So I kind of, like I said, it's stupid because we all assumed this film would end with, like, Galactus destroying their world and them escaping and tying into the Thunderbolts post credits and whatever. And it's like, I don't want that world to be destroyed now. I'd rather the rest of the MCU come to this world.
Yeah, make it the other way around. Make it the other way around.
Like, I don't want to never see those Fantastic Four villains that they, like, name checked ever again. You know, like, they're so cool. Yeah. Or like the montage of them fighting and stuff. Let's come here. It's so much nicer and brighter and cooler,
and vibrant, and just visually exciting. And but again, that is down to, well, not just the director Matt Shakman, but like, is the same core team the ones that did WandaVision, or is he literally just the director credit?
I honestly don't know, but I know him as the director. Like I said, he's coming from WandaVision. As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh well, he nails period look. Like it's 6 times in that show.
It's WandaVision on film I wanted on paper. And I mean, this doesn't, it's its own look. It doesn't just copy WandaVision and just put it on the big screen, which is a great thing in of itself. But just knowing that Matt Shakman was the one to do it, and again, the WandaVision energy is very much in the Fantastivision, or whatever it is. The Fantastivision energy I felt very much on the big screen, and it was just glamorous to see.
Just every little touch. I mean, having the 60s kind of Ted Gilbert show with Mark Gatiss hosting it as the kind of and everyone, because they're Fantastic Four, again, they are that in the comics. They're the kind of, like, they are the sort of Kardashian celebrities of the Marvel universe, where they would absolutely be going on all the talk shows and in all the magazines and stuff. And you just get the sense that if this was the main MCU, everybody would actually just be hating them, because all you ever seem to get is like, oh, we're so depressed. We blew up a building and now everyone hates us, kind of shit. I'm like, oh, I'm so tired of that now.
Yeah. Been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah. Although saying that, when they introduce the X-Men, we are going to have to put up with an awful lot of, like, people hate mutants, and so let's have some fun in the meantime until we do that. Okay,
until we get to that. Yeah. Well, imagine if the mutants came to this vibrant, positive, fantastic 828 world. Can you imagine that? The cross blend of themes that could be interesting, but also tonal disaster if you're then going to have to deal with fantastic, vibrant, like, escapism, comic accuracy, to then more depression at serious themed, and which again is not knocking the X-Men, because that's the X-Men mutant theme through and through, like from issue 1 of the 60s run. But like going from fantastic, vibrant, colorful, exaggerated villains to accurate self-love, self-hating, and, like, almost kind of deep racial themes about acceptance, and again, that doesn't go with this vibrant, fantastic world.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you could do that for the X-Men, and again, it's the kind of shit that you never saw done on film or never saw done right, is that those comics go really to what a lot of people might think are silly places. If you start doing the Shi'ar Empire and the M'Kraan crystal and all this kind of, and the proper version of the Dark Phoenix, for that matter. But again, I'd love to see all of that, but it just seems like they're probably, especially considering it's the director of Thunderbolts that's now doing their X-Men film, I just get the sense it's actually going to be instead just be like, we're so depressed, the whole world is prejudiced against us, and I'm like, oh. I want to see the really cool, vibrant ones where they're kicking, like, huge, giant robots' asses and stuff.
Yeah, Robots is good, and Sentinel. I even read online, like, I'll shut up about X-Men in a second, but someone thought, okay, well, I'm going to say the source, but there was a Sentinel Easter egg in this as well.
There was. I noticed it. Yes, there was definitely a Sentinel that they were fighting at one point, or something that looked remarkably like one. Anyway.
Okay, so that wasn't just random fandom misclick.
No, it wasn't. I noticed the same thing, and I was like, "Is that a Sentinel?" Like I said, if it wasn't, it's definitely designed to invoke that because it looks so freaking similar at the time. So it's so quick though. It's what that whole montage, like I said, where it's like, and we've seen them fight the Red Ghost super apes and thwart the Mole Man and face Giganta the demon, and then it's just like showing you quick flashes of the other things. And I was like, "Yep, looks like a Sentinel. It's definitely a robot anyway." So yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there to this movie, is it?
No, well, not yet. Who knows? Not yet.
Yeah.
Well, heck, maybe that's the sequel. Are we Fantastic Four v if not X-Men, but just mutant kind? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there. But no, we want camp cheesy movies. We don't want depressionate, self-hating, self-love.
The thing is, let's not give the wrong impression. This isn't a camp or cheesy movie either. It's not the 1994 bloody Roger Corman one. It's not afraid to embrace what might be considered the sillier aspects, but it doesn't ever come across as like, well, this is just stupid, or this is too camp, or this is like Batman and Robin or whatever. It's not that, you know.
No. This does get serious, and I say heavy, but also appropriate for, like, in a way, for those that actually are starting new families, and like it's a family drama. Quite literally, family is the core of the whole movie. Sci-fi and comic book aspects and vibrancy aside, like, this is a family adventure film that just so happens to be set in the pages of comics and, you know, the superhero genre. Like, take those elements out. This is a family drama with a parent and a father doing everything they can to protect their child. That's the whole core of the movie. It's just parents looking after their children, doing whatever they can.
Well, it's a family. It's always, we've said this on every other review, it's always supposed to be Marvel's first family. That's what the Fantastic Four are. And that's, you know, there's some great little touches about that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why this is coming into my head, but it almost made me cry when I read it online, where it was like, one of the little touches that I really loved is that Ben Grimm, when he's the Thing, like in this movie, for starters, first of all, he doesn't spend the entire time miserable about being the Thing. He's not scared to embrace the, like, oh, I'm a hero, look at me lift this car and whatever, and flirt with Natasha Lyonne and stuff. But they were like, one of the touches they really loved is that you can see that he struggles to kind of apply the right pressure to things and not break things as he's going and stuff. And yet the family trust him so much that it's him that gets handed Franklin, the baby, and they're not scared he's going to like crush him or anything like that. And I was like, oh, that's actually really fucking touching. You know what I mean? Because you're right as well. They were like, no, he would never harm our child. We're not even worried about it, you know? And I was like, oh. So yeah, I appreciated that kind of thing. And like you were saying, though, kind of on the subject of what you were saying, like, you know, take the comic booky elements around it out, and there's this nice drama. I also think it's much better for me than the Superman film for doing what everybody's lauding about, which is like, it's a much better representation of hope and embracing that, and like the whole world uniting, you know? It just does such a better job for me. And like, there's no scene as hopeful or beautiful in the Superman film for me as when Sue's like having to talk the world down because they're like, just give him your kid, boo. And she's like, look, I will not sacrifice my child for this world, but I will not sacrifice this world for my child. And I'm here for you. I've got you. And she basically, because she has a job of her own and isn't just a bimbo, she's a diplomat, and she talks the entire world down and into like, oh, okay.
I'm glad you mentioned the whole hope play. And I mean, we're not just going to try and cross-reference this to Superman. It just so bloody happened that it's so remarkably fresh. It's so remarkably fresh that we can't. This movie does come across as more hopeful. This was more deeper and like actually resonated with the non-parent I am, but the parent I hoped it would be. It does resonate more. I just think with more general audiences as well, that those that if they will just get overwhelmed and visually like think, what on earth am I looking at? But as soon as they actually get to the crust of the film's plot of just protecting anybody's child, a family's child, people just resonate with it, and it actually does more than whatever. Again, Superman, so irrelevant, I know, but Superman does in his film. and yet people have raved about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tangent aside, yes, this film did come across a lot more hopeful and just deeper and just actually, again, it just made me, it's a warming thing. It made me feel warm. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It made me feel warm and nice.
Like I keep saying, it's all about the family. It's like being warm and inviting and welcomed into this family. And even if you don't have kids of your own, you can, there's going to have been kids in your family somewhere, and you can relate to being like the, Johnny, the kind of like slightly teasing fun uncle who's gonna always be there for you no matter what. He might not change nappies, but he'll always look out for you. And like I said, Ben Grimm, who's like the toughest thing, but he's soft as anything when it comes to you. He'll always look out for you. And like I said, the two parents, and I couldn't believe one of the things like that's in this film, and I'll mention it because it's coming into my head. But I often find the Reed Richards in the comic to be too much of an asshole. Like he's really cold. And there's a scene in this film where I think they lean into that and they kind of present that, where spoilers if you haven't seen it, where it's basically like he's contemplating what it would look like if they did give the child over to Galactus, and he's like, I would never actually do it, but it's my job to think of the worst possible thing in order to avoid it. And then Sue's like, well, sometimes you being you really hurts me. And I was like, in the comics, that would have been written so differently, and I'd have been like, you're such a dick, Reed Richards. But in this one, I was like, I genuinely felt for you. And because of the way Pedro Pascal plays it, I'm like, he's not even coming across like that much of a dick, even though what he's thinking about is just incomprehensible. But you're just like, yeah, kind of get what you're saying. Like, you've got to think of this to avoid it. And I understand in a weird kind of way.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. You said that so much better than I would. But yeah, no, that scene in particular, that I felt that, because again, having read that early stuff, again, this isn't just an issue with the early comics. Like, I get your point. Reed does come across as a bit of a prick in some comics. He does come across a bit of a obnoxious arsehole, which again, with all the big brains in the MCU. Oh, sorry.
I've read through the recent comics, and I'm just saying, like, they kind of make him out to be like that, because, like, especially in the Civil War comics and stuff, where it's like the only way to contend with this is if anybody that disagrees with us, we'll put them, into this, basically the Lex Luthor thing from Superman, weirdly enough. It's like, we've got this prison in the negative zone. We'll imprison them there without trial indefinitely, because otherwise it's just going to be too much of a problem. And it's like, what a dick. Like, well, it's just going to cause too many problems if we don't, completely strip people of their rights and just jail them. Like, dude, come on. Have some kind of empathy. But yeah, I liked that there wasn't that Mr. Fantastic, because I think it would be so hard to root for that if it was in this film. But he's not, like I said.
I felt like breaking the Mr. Fantastic illusion, but I feel like if I was just a side note about Pedro, I feel like this role and just him in this movie, I feel like this is one of the least normal Pedro Pascal-ish roles that he's done. I feel actually did challenge him as a performer and actually brought out a more different side, and like from that aspect, not just looking at an actor that seems to be in, well, arguably one too many things. I mean, this man has walked into so many different fandoms and toes, and again, Pedro is the poster boy everywhere of most projects, it feels like these days. But to see him in this, and not just some people did kind of doubt the casting. I wasn't one of these people, but I did kind of think it was like, without calling it suspicious, but I did kind of think, oh, is this a bit of a money safe formula? Is this just, Pedro for the sake of, it'll make money because look, it's Pedro? But actually seeing the final product, and again, not knowing who was in the audition process and who was so close to getting the role but ultimately slipped, regardless of where you stand with Pedro getting this role, I feel like him as a performer actually came through quite a bit differently to what I was expecting. I was expecting more conventional Pedro, but in this, he actually is owing up to the role and doing his own thing with it, which I did admire as well.
I'm glad you said that, because first of all, it can lead us into talking about the acting, because we kind of haven't yet. So that put a pin in that for now as we start talking about it. But no, I agree. My biggest worry was just like he's so big of a star, and I've seen him in everything now, from Game of Thrones to Mandalorian to Last of Us to whatever. And I'm like, am I going to be able to look at this and not just think that's Pedro Pascal? And it was like 10 minutes in, and I'm just like, oh crap, I completely forgot it was, Pedro Pascal in inverted commas, the kind of big star. He just became Mr. Fantastic. And I was like, oh yeah, that was Pedro Pascal, wasn't it? That played that role, because he didn't ever come across as not being believable, if that makes sense. And so I was like, oh yeah, I was just buying into it. Didn't even think about it. Didn't even occur to me. I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh, look, it's that guy from Dawn in Game of Thrones." Or, oh, look, it's where's your Beskar armor, mate, or whatever.
Where's your mask? Where's the Fantastic mask?
Why is the baby not green with pointy ears?
No, see, that's what you call a scroll. That's a scroll.
I have seen that mashup though, where it's like Pedro's in bed with Vanessa Kirby, but he's in the full Mandalorian armor, and Franklin Richards is Baby Yoda, like in the middle of them. Oh, come on. Just tell religious. But no, since you kind of brought up the acting, I have to say my very surprising MVP of this movie, and the person that I think did the best and strongest acting, was Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm. I was not expecting this, and I've seen her in other stuff. I've seen the Mission Impossibles, and I'm sure I've seen other stuff with her in, and she's always good. Like, I would never say she's a bad actress, but here I was like, where did you find this next level from?
I feel like she's an actress that hasn't been in too many things, but like you, I saw her in, again, you literally just mentioned it, but the name's already gone out my mind and my mouth. The Crown, probably the most serious thing. Like, I've seen a glimpse of her in Crown.
I've mainly seen the Mission Impossible films, but I just think she's kind of
Hobbs and Shaw, slightly more silly, but she's like the unofficial comedic relief in that. And I've got her filmography up, but again, I
think the thing is, if I might be so bold to tell her, about her own career, I think the thing is that she never seemed comfortable playing these kind of bimbo-y, the girl that's being chased around kind of roles. And here she's playing the mother role, and in the best possible way, because she's latched onto that and like, oh, I'm the mother, not just of this kid, but of this family. I'm the matriarch. I'm the strongest. I've got to be there for everyone, kind of thing. And she absolutely fucking nails it. You know what I mean? In a way that none of the other Sue Storms do. I mean, there's only another two, but like Jessica Alba, she's lovely and everything. But did I believe her as like a maternal figure? No, not at all,
Yeah, no. Even as a child, as an adult, no. Not to be on the anti-Jessica Alba train, but
she was lovely, and she was fantastic as like Reed's kind of trophy wife-ish type of character. Like, okay, that makes sense. And they never did introduce the baby, so it didn't really matter. But I was like, she just doesn't have that energy. And I mean, she's not as good an actress either. No offenses, Vanessa Kirby clearly is. As I would say after this movie anyway. But yeah, I was just so impressed by that performance. I was like, this is so strong, and this is like noticeably good acting. I mean, they're all good. Like I said, to bring it back up to the others, Joseph Quinn as Johnny was brilliant, like I said, but I think he benefited from the fact that he got good writing and actually got something to do. Eben Moss-Bachrach is the Thing. Like I said, I just love this characterization, because it is, as much as I do like those moments of like dramatic pathos in the other films, especially the kind of I'm dumping you and chucking your ring in the street kind of thing in the 2005 movie. Like that, there is a quick moment of that where he looks in the kind of reflection in the mirror or in the shop window and sees himself and kind of sighs. And I'm like, okay, that's there. But other than that, a lot of the time, he is the Thing that I recognize in the comics, which is just like, okay, I've got to get over this. I am what I am, but I'm also a superhero who's beloved. And like I said, just seeing those scenes that you've seen in the trailer of like, lift the car, yay! And like him being, like I said, Stan Lee always referred to him. I'm sure if you're reading the early comics, he always referred to him as the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing. And he was always just this charming, like fun-loving hero to kids, like neighborhood, legend and whatever. And I'm like, this is the first time I feel like I've seen that version of Ben Grimm. Even in like, somebody genuinely said online, like, oh, what was the point of Natasha Lyonne in this film? And I'm like, the point was to give Ben something to humanize him and to show that he doesn't have to just have blind girls falling for him because he's so hideous. He genuinely seemed to have charmed that friggin' woman, and she was kind of interested in him.
No, I mean the Thing was different. Like, he was portrayed so differently, and it captures the early spirits of the early comics that we keep talking about from the 60s. And it was nice to see the Thing not again hate himself. And again, bearing in mind this was what how many years were the because I know this film begins with the Ted Gilbert talk show. Had they say they'd been around for what, 3 or 4 years prior to?
I was just going to say, I think it was 2 to 4 years or something like that. That ballpark. It'd have been a couple of years at least.
It's been a couple, yeah. So obviously the self-hate and the self-love and the cure to Reed's search to cure the thing, I imagine would have been over. But who's to say that it can't not be touched upon or maybe revisited in a follow-up?
No, and I mean
it
it does, because I mean Reed at one point he's like, yeah, I messed up on the mission and look what happened. And I think I'm imagining this or it was part of the movie I saw 4 days ago, and I'm sure Ben just says something like, Reed, you didn't mess up, it's fine, It was just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I recall a similar line. It definitely does get mentioned.
It's something like that anyway, where it's not outright mentioned, but Reed's like, I've got to be careful with what's happening with Franklin here because I've already messed up once. Look what happened on the mission, like alluding to what happened to Ben, and Ben's like, nah, you didn't mess up, it's fine.
No, I mean, out of the 4, regardless of what you said about Eben Moss's portrayal of this version of the thing, I felt like he was the one that came across or left an impression on me the least, but that's no fault of anyone, I don't think. He was just, I felt like he had the least that I got from him, but that was more from a script, but not out of acting or portrayal or anything. I, like you say, it sort of skips over the thing, self-hate, and everything we've sort of just touched upon, but like the other 3 left away like much more of an impersonation on me this time around.
I have to say, I think for me, I would say it was Johnny, but in the same way as you, I don't think anybody came off bad. It was just
no.
It's kind of a negative wrapped in a positive, because I'm like, it's not that I'm complaining. I just want to see more of them.
Exactly. I want to see more of the thing. I want to see more of him actually like clobbering things, and like him not saying it's clobbering time until the 3rd act, of course, was the reward and a well-earned moment, and it was cool to see the thing with facial hair. As much as it was kind of like this is a bit of a weird CGI gag, it actually did, like, as stupid as it sounds, it actually kind of made sense for this, and it was actually
context. I mean, it's the kind of thing that's hard to explain, but in context, it sort of works.
It did work. That's the thing. It worked. I dig it. I quite like the thing CGI beard. I kind of want. I wish he kept it. I'm not going to lie. I want to see it. That should be
bother me, but I was like, I got the gag, But because. Again, it's just more of the, like I said, Ben and Johnny kind of family dynamics are there that they have got right basically every time. But they still have that where they're the kind of they clearly love each other, but they're going to tease each other as well, like as much as they can. And even just little things like the fact that Ben is like a fantastic chef, probably because of a reference to that bear or whatever. Yeah. But like he's like being really specific about the food and everything, and Johnny's just like, I'm already hungry, and starts eating cereal at the table. And Ben's like, for God's sake, Johnny. Just like, I can genuinely sense the years of like this dude.
Yeah, exactly. It was it was all in the delivery and all in the eyes, and like everything you said, I agree with massively. You got all of the backstory and all of like the emotion just from the little that we got, which again is a negative and a positive, because like no doubt when we see more of these, we hopefully get a sequel. We won't feel less. We will get them one way or another. Yeah. But no, I just feel like I alluded to Johnny earlier, because of his brain and not just his looks and affection for other people, particularly females. I felt like Johnny, I want to say the MVP. Johnny just left a cool impression on me.
No, it was the women for me. It was Vanessa Kirby and Julia Garner as Sue Storm and Charlotte Bell. I think were the 2 strongest impressions I got out of it. But again, everybody can have different things.
Silver Surfer aside, because that, without calling it an issue or a point of contention or a nitpick, aside from Johnny and her big scene of basically Johnny breaking down the language barrier and kind of getting through to her and realizing what she had done to the other like 23, 24 other planets or something Galactus had fed upon, after she realizes the error of her ways and she sort of flies off. To me, it felt like she was then kind of an afterthought, and then suddenly just became a plot point right at the very end, after you get into the 3rd CGI boss fight. If you
I didn't
She was
mind.
there, and then
There
she
was
turned
so
up.
much
That makes sense.
There was so much good stuff I can point to. Like, again, it's just come into my head at the minute, but I so love that line where, because she's like obviously talking about how she took the job as Herald to save her family, just like, you know, her husband does in the main comics. So she saved her family, but she took the job, and so she doomed a lot of other planets to save her own. And there's that gorgeous line where she's talking to Sue, and she's been talked around enough, so she's not stealing Franklin, but she's like, just take the baby and get out of here. If you're lucky, you might live long enough to forgive yourself. And I'm like, oh, because she must die inside every day about like, I'm doing these horrible things, but it's for my family kind of thing, you know? Yeah. So I believed it a lot more than I did in the Rise of the Silver Surfer movie. So that when she comes back, I was like, I believe this change of heart a heck of a lot more than Jessica Alba. You remind me of my wife. Now I'm going to destroy the Dark Cloud.
Yeah. Now, when you put it like that, this is 1,000 times better. It was just my nitpick was the fact that she has Johnny and her have the big scene. It was well executed, really cool, and obviously she has to go off screen for a bit, and you are sort of anticipating the return and the turn of good, if you like, which again doesn't break any new grounds because she does that in the comics and blah 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 blah. But for me, it just felt like she was gone from the movie a little bit too long for me. But that's based on the first time watch. I mean, I could watch it again tomorrow and be like, oh no, it was perfectly paced. But I felt like between her sort of realizing her way, she flies off to the sky. Then, of course, the plot and other things happen, and obviously your mind is focusing on so many things at once. But then when you get into the CGI, well, the third act boss fight, if you will, and all hope is lost, and then voila, you get the surfboard appear, and it's just kind of like where have you been the last like X amount of time? Like I had to kind of think and go, oh yeah, that happened like a while ago. To me, it felt like it happened a while ago, and I felt like she was gone for a good portion of the film. But that's me. I
think you were probably watching it very differently though, because I think you're supposed to think as an audience member, oh, she's just basically effed off now because she doesn't want to have the responsibility, so she's just gone off to another planet and forget about it, kind of thing. But I was spending the whole time that they're fighting Galactus going, but in the comics, the Silver Surfer turns on him. And I know we've seen that a few times, but I want to see that. So when she did come back, I was like, yeah, they are doing that. I was just relieved that was still part of it.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I knew that was going to be the outcome. Like I always knew she was going to turn up and be in the. I didn't expect her to just go off and disappear from the movie. If she didn't come back during the Galactus boss fight, that would have been an issue. That would have been real, like.
Yeah, but I think that's what the film wants you to think is that, oh, don't worry about it. She's just kind of gone off somewhere because she can't live with this or whatever. But yeah, it's a weird one. I said I was just so relieved because I kind of want little bits of comic accuracy, and I was like, oh, I can live with them defeating Galactus this way, but I kind of missed the Silver Surfer turning on him plotline.
Properly, yeah. No, but then do you like? Obviously, we don't know casting and sequel stuff aside, but do you think that is quote unquote it for now, or for Galactus or Silver Surfer?
Well, again, I
without asking fake questions.
I like the fact that they stick to the comic lore, because even my brother, when he was talking about the film, because he tends to just like to spoil things, he was like, so do they kill Galactus? And I was just like, no, Galactus can't die. That's an entire thing in the comics. He's part of the balance of the universe. He dies, the universe is destroyed. And this film sticks to that. It's like, you can't just kill him. You can replace him with somebody else, or you can send him to a different place, but you can't destroy him because he is an elemental force that's necessary for the universe to function. And
he's a Nexus being, then? Technically, sorry, if you're quoting MC, he's a Nexus being, I guess, equivalent to Scarlet Witch, technically on paper, then.
Well, sometimes in the comics they will say that, and they kind of stole this for Transformers, weirdly enough. They will sometimes say that, like, even though there's variants of everything across the multiverse, there's only one Galactus. Because he is a multiversal being, and again, they stole that in the Transformers for Unicron. There's like thousands of versions of Optimus Prime, but there's only one Unicron, etc., etc. But yeah, so like, but in any case, he can never be like, you can't just think, oh, I'll kill this planet-eating thing. But again, because again, it came into my head. I love that they addressed like the really complex, like bizarre sci-fi fantasy origin of Galactus, which was never part of the comics until like they realized they needed an origin in like the 70s or something, and they did a comic where it's like he was once a man, just a regular human called Galen, I think, from a race called the Tar or something like that, TAA. But then when his universe basically collapsed in on itself, and he was the only survivor who came from that universe into this one when the Big Bang happened. So he became this kind of cosmic elemental force because he's been here since literally the dawn of time. And in fact, from a previous universe before even what we would call the dawn of time. And I was like, they're never going to address that. That's such bizarre, heavy, like trippy concepts. And nope, in this film, he's like, oh, I was once a man just like you. And then my universe was destroyed. I was like, oh, they're actually fucking doing it. They're actually saying
hooray! Hooray for comic books.
Yeah. And he's not just a clown.
Yeah, exactly. That was the big thing. He wasn't a fucking cloud. that's the victory of the whole movie. He wasn't a cloud.
Yeah, I was so impressed with the scale they did from there. And I mean, Ralph Ineson, again, I said this in another podcast I was joking on, like, I only know him as Finchy from The Office, so I only really know him from comedy. And I was like, I don't know how good he's going to be as Galactus, but whatever they did to him, whether they, and I'm credit where it's due, if they didn't do this, it might just be that he's really good at like making his voice boom or whatever. But if they added special effects to it or whatever it is, he came across with such gravitas that I was like, when you, like I said, first see him in that ship and he's this massive thing, and when he like eventually comes down to Earth, I was like, this is the first time I've ever found him a little bit kind of scary, like genuinely intimidating. Like, whoa, this huge freaking thing is coming after us. What are we gonna do? But yeah. But I did love that everyone got their own way to kind of fight him. Like Ben was the one responsible for knocking down the building that was going to be knocked into him, and Sue obviously using the force field, which I can't believe anybody's questioning if she's that powerful, by the way. Read a freaking comic. Again. Like, she could really push this great, big, huge, like 100-foot tall thing with... Yes, she can. Absolutely. She's like one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe. She's like stronger than the Phoenix and shit. So absolutely she can.
Okay. Oh damn! I know she was strong, and obviously she isn't a character to be slept on. But she, of the power, like she is the most powerful of the four. Then,
she's always said to have been, the strongest, or the most powerful of the four of them. Yeah.
Fair. Okay. So a broad question, then, without sort of going back to like the Mutant and X-Men things, and a fantasy booking. Would we ever get like an Invisible Woman, Jean Grey face-off, or do you think? For now, at the MCU as we know it, do you think this would be the closest to like doing Jean, like without copying and emulating Jean Grey? But do you think rather than like getting Jean and Invisible Woman in the same bracket or in the same sequence and scene, do you think this would be, for now, as far as we know, like the next wave of doing the Phoenix Force / Jean without doing the X-Men? Like Invisible Woman is to be that kind of equivalent. Sorry.
It's a great template. Sorry to interrupt you. No, it's a great template for how to do female characters. And again, it's not the only one. I mean, if you look at the MCU and the way they handled Wanda, who again has a very similar plotline, just don't F with my kids.
Yes.
Basically. So, and again, same director as this movie. But I think, they do women characters surprisingly well most of the time. Even even though I didn't love her initial appearances, Black Widow, by the time you get to her movie, I think is really well done. And like I said, even though I don't respond to some of the more over dramatic parts of Thunderbolts, characters like Elena in that, fantastic. They're doing really good jobs with all of the women characters, better than the men in most cases. You can certainly use that as a template for your Jeans or your Storms or your Kitty Pryde, whichever female insert X-Man here. But in terms of asking, if they were come together and kind of unite with anybody, kind of thing, to answer that question a little bit, I really have always wanted to see it. We're closer than we've ever been, but I still don't know if I'll ever see it. I really want to see what they're always doing in the comics, which is the Thing facing the Hulk, because they do that all the
time. Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. Wolverine versus Hulk is a thing that would, I think for many people would be a match to be seen as well. But even again, going back to the comics that we've been clearly reading, and this is clearly established on, I've only done the first couple of matches between the Thing and the Hulk, and like without forwarding that whole situation, that they still don't like each other. They clash off quite a bit.
Well, the Hulk doesn't like anybody when he's full Hulk, unless he's like the smart one or whatever. So you get him feral enough, he'll kick anyone's ass.
No, but you're right. The Thing and the Hulk, that I kind of want to see more. That having known the comic and actually acknowledging that as a thing, because in my head it was always Wolverine and Hulk, Wolverine versus Hulk. But now I kind of want to see Thing and Hulk.
It's always Thing and Hulk, because Thing was always drawn to be comparatively, the same kind of size
The
and
same.
bulk as the Hulk,
Yeah.
and he's a little bit less than that because they have to, it would be silly to have something that big wandering around with the Fantastic Four. But again, this one I think is closer, and this Hulk in the MCU isn't necessarily as over the top huge anyway. So like this thing and Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, I think that could be a really interesting fight.
I'm with you 1,000%. I'm with you 1,000%. I really want to see that matchup now. I really do want to see it.
I mean, you never know. We are going to have them presumably on screen together in one of the next two Avengers films because they're both still around. So maybe it would be such a nice, cool, because there's so few things that I'm looking forward to in those movies, but that would be one kind of fan pleasing-ish moment that I would really cheer for, would be if they find a way to have, like I said, a thing Hulk fight in that movie.
They absolutely have to have a scene, or at least in Doomsday, like tease the fact that they're going to look at each other and go like, "Huh, you great, like look at you, big giant green brute," and then he's going to be all like, "What are you, some orange clown?" Like he's going to they're going to have to square up without actually clobber each other. That might be the wars, but yeah.
I really want that, and I really want a scene, just even a scene, if it's a small scene, but ideally a bit longer, of Peter Parker teaming up with Johnny Storm, because again, I freaking love those team up comics because they work so well together.
They do work so damn well, yeah. And the thing is, I can see Joe Quinn and Tom Holland anyway being good mates. I can see it.
They're not a million years away in age. Like you can genuinely see them. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, I can imagine those two being peers, kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Damn. Well, Kevin, if you're listening, make it happen.
Yeah, those are my two requests for the Avengers movies. I want to see Thing fight Hulk, and I want to see Spider-Man and Human Torch team up.
Yeah, or go for a race around Queens. Shout out to the Ultimate Spider-Man PS2 game, because that was my childhood.
That game was a bitch. I could never get past that freaking Venom, one of the Venomy levels on that game. Although I wasn't playing on the PlayStation, that was the DS, I think, or something. One of the handheld ones, but it was a bitch of a game.
Oh no, I didn't even know the game was on handheld. I thought that predated.
The Ultimate Spider-Man game. Yeah, no, if it's the one I'm thinking of, you play as Spider-Man or Venom, but if you play as Venom, you've got to eat enough brains to stay alive, or whatever as you're going. And I think it might actually have been Carnage, the level I'm referring to, where you just could not get past him, and I couldn't figure out what to do.
Well, no, I'm only talking about the console, PlayStation 2. But no, there's a certain sequence where, Johnny's in the game. It's a side activity you can do once you get past that level. But essentially, you and Johnny Storm could just go around and race around the city, and it was so nice and calm. And exactly. It's just I want to read that comic anyway, because I think that game loosely is based on certain issues of that comic. But again,
there are, look up any comic that's called Marvel Team Up and it involves Spider-Man and Human Torch. There's a lot of them, but they're all good.
Yeah. Irrelevant tangent aside, we want Johnny and Spider-Man on screen along with Thing and Hulk 1,000,000%.
I'd rather have that than here's another 10th character that you recognize from another universe to come in and do nothing. Great.
But another curiosity.
I think of an example that hasn't been done yet. Like, oh look, there's Nick Cage's Ghost Rider. Oh look, there's Ben Affleck. Like, I don't care. We've done this.
Something I want to see that again we've discussed off camera, and again the Vanessa Kirby has addressed the possibility of it in the sequel. Well, she hopes in the sequel is Malice. Something I totally was unaware of.
Oh, Malice, the Sue Storm, alternate personality.
Totally unaware of.
You'll never see that on a PG rated movie. That costume in the movies, I'm afraid not.
Well,
I mean, I wouldn't complain.
No. Tone it down, of course, Mickey Mouse. Tone it down, Mickey.
You'd have to. I'm genuinely amazed that the cartoon did it accurately. I was like, what the kids watch this? Anyway, but no. What was I going to say? I've completely forgotten about that now. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Going back quickly to the Avengers movies, because they have alluded to this in one of the interviews that I saw, and it was really funny. Got to remember, of course, that Namor is in Avengers Doomsday, and they've confirmed that.
Yes.
So, Sue and Namor. Because, I watched this interview where one of the interviewers mentioned, Namor's coming into this. Are you jealous? And Pedro Pascal just fully looked huffed.
Yeah.
No, I'm not threatened by
it. Wow, yeah. He just doesn't want to get to work. Like, nope.
I don't know. Tenoch Huerta looks like a handsome man, you know, and Vanessa's like, he is handsome, but this is my guy, kind of.
He's not me. He's not me. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, again, that would be another fan moment I would love, would be just alluding to like Namor hitting on Sue, maybe, and Reed being like, watch it.
A triangle. Yeah, just an acknowledgement of the possible triangle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They are.
I'm sure they will, because they're all in there. So.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm most confident of seeing. Like I said, when they've announced they've cast Tenoch Huerta to come back as Namor and the Fantastic Four in the movie, I'm like, they wouldn't not do it at this point. It's too obvious.
Again, just a scene, just a moment would be nice. For now,
I'm sure they'll allude to it anyway. But no, what was I've completely forgotten my train of thought. I think we've said everything we kind of had to about this Fantastic Four movie as we start going off on tangents, and that's why. But I don't think there's anybody I didn't mention. I loved Natasha Lyonne, as I said. I thought Galactus was great. Loved Paul Walter Hauser's version of the Mole Man, just leaning into the funny part of it. And the fact that even though with the world at stake, Reed Richards is just so petty that he's like, I'm not going to thank him. He's a dick.
For me, though, again, like I messaged you at some point last week or this week, Mole Man, from what I gather, is more of a villain scumbag, whereas it felt like in the movie I was just watching Paul Walter Hauser. Which ain't a bad thing.
He has his redeeming moments to Mole Man. He's not like full on, you know, he's not like one of the worst villains like Doctor Doom style or whatever. So I was fine. He's always kind of just silly.
Yeah, that's just what I know. But it's like, I'd take Paul Walter Hauser. I would like to see more of him. It was just not on first review. I was kind of like, oh, this isn't where I thought it'd be going. I thought he would be perhaps that, like, out of all the montagey villains that got name dropped at the beginning, I thought they would actually have like a 10-15 minute sequence with him and being more sinister, more villainy, and obviously they succumb to him or defeat him, and then he would be then put in prison. I didn't expect him to be like in charge of. I thought he'd be the Underminer. I thought he'd be the Underminer from The Incredibles.
I am beneath you, but nothing is beneath me.
He would be the Underminer.
That's who the Underminer was based on. That's where that joke comes from. It's supposed to be Mole Man. No, Mole Man always has his like underground kingdom of people that he rules over and all the rest of it. Because that's why I was blatantly, when we watched the '94 movie, I was like, this dude, the jeweler, is obviously supposed to be Mole Man. Because he lives in his own like underground lair and has his own henchmen and like a group of people he wants to rule over and stuff. I'm like, so why are you using the jeweler, whoever the heck that is? But anyway, I liked it. I thought it was fine. Like I said, it served to also big up Sue's importance because, like I said, one of the other things I like is that these versions of the Fantastic Four all have jobs of their own. And like I said, Sue being the diplomat, it was kind of nice to hear him say, "I hate all humans, but I trust Sue Storm." I was like, "See, exactly. She's just that good." Just incredible.
Let's not say the F word, but let's just go with incredible.
Fantastic. Say that again, Johnny.
The one thing that lives rent free when trying to describe the movie, just say it again. Just keep saying it again. And again, for those that in the audience that have or haven't watched it yet, I hope by the time you eventually either want to see the movie or get dragged to it because there's not much on, I hope you walk out of this movie and genuinely feel better about not just about yourself, but everything around you and the good bit of art that we can actually watch occasionally from time to time. Because this was a piece of art, a piece of visual art.
Yeah, that's a good place to kind of to conclude my thoughts, was to say that I haven't had this much fun watching a film or thought about it quite like really happily for days afterwards in a long time. And as I was sitting there when the credits first rolled, I did actually, as I said this in my Letterboxd review, I will embarrassingly say I did have a little tear, and it was just relief, and it was just like I just felt like, oh, finally. After sitting through 4 just complete botches of these characters and these comics, to actually finally get one that got it and understood it. And it reminded me of a story I heard from a friend of mine, actually, which was that his dad is like the world's biggest Batman fan, and he sat through all of those films when they were coming out and kind of, saw the low point coming of Batman and Robin. And then he took he took his son with him, who was the friend of mine, to go and see Batman Begins, and he says he turned to his dad at the end of the movie, and his dad was kind of weeping a little bit and just went, "Finally, somebody understood." And I was like, "That's exactly how I felt at the end of this movie."
Yeah, no, I mean, but being on a par with a Batman Begins in the sense of like you just said, butchering adaptation, not outright butchering, but getting adaptations not quite accurately. It's then finally sort of going through life to get your accurate take on something that you've loved and beloved growing up. And yeah, I get it. It must be a ridiculous feeling of yes, finally, fuck
It
yeah!
is.
Like,
It
it is a real pleasing moment, like for you and anyone that feels that way. And I get people may have felt that way about Superman, but boy, I did not.
And again, as I said during our Superman review, I'm the biggest Superman fan, and I wanted to feel like that, and I just didn't.
Yeah.
And that's why I was so relieved when Fantastic Four. I was like, oh, and this is exactly what I relate to in these things, and the authentic comics come to the screen at long last, and just so relieved.
I'm not just relieved for you or for everyone that is that act to go through that big release. But even I'm only read like 30 issues, and I'm getting a sense of, oh my god, this is actually what I'm reading, and this is actually the actual property, not just a take on it. This is the actual thing put on the big screen, and it is a real love letter and tribute to Lee and Kirby and the original team that actually came up with these ridiculous, larger than life, silly concepts that we all just moan about occasionally, but praise online as we do. But even I, who's only dabbering very fine bit of paint into it, but I'm really am like, this was actually the thing. See, the thing is, this is actually.
No, I have nothing to add. I just agree with you exactly what you're saying. Like I said, but as a huge fan, it was so nice. And I don't think, I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think even though there are some people that don't love this movie quite so much, I've never really seen any fellow hardcore fans that are disappointed with it. And I think if you've pleased the actual Fantastic Four fans, then you've done your job. You know what I mean? Especially after 4 movies that didn't even try.
Yeah, damn straight. Didn't even try. Yeah. Damn you, 2005. I mean, that is my nostalgia childhood / introduction. But then that's the thing. Knowing the wiser and the company that I have, and obviously people that have showed me the ways, and this film showed me the ways, that 2005 movie was not the Fantastic Four as we know it.
Yeah, it's not a terrible movie. It's just like, I gave my grievances at the time. It just didn't get, it was too scared to be. And it was from that era, like I said, where you've kind of got to forgive it because it's part of that thing where it's like, we can lean a little bit into this, but we can't go too silly with it. And it's like, it's a silly comic book. Just go with it.
Just pick it up and let it be read on the screen and don't tamper with it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Totally.
Anyway. But no, I just loved it. Like I said, as everyone has said, and as was kind of alluded to, it was the closest thing to Jack Kirby artwork that I've seen in a lot of, in a similar way to what a lot of people were saying about Doctor Strange and Steve Ditko's kind of absolute trippy, crazy art. I think this brings a lot of Jack Kirby's cosmic craziness and everything to, and comic book aesthetics to the screen. And like I said, I think somebody again online brought a little tear to my eye by saying, more than any other MCU film since he left us, I wish Stan had lived to see this one. I think he'd have absolutely loved it. So, I mean, he loved everything, but he really would have genuinely in his heart, I think, loved this because it's a true tribute to those early things. And it's all those ideas, isn't it? And I like you, I went straight and picked up my Coming of Galactus comics to go and reread them after this. I was like, oh, go on then. I'll go. I've read them 1,000 times, but I'll go and have another read of them because put me in that mind. So.
Like at the end of the day, not just to live up the pummel, live up the means, but we both pretty much left the movie feeling pretty fantastic.
Indeed,
pretty fantastic. And George, by the time you watch it in 4 years' time, by the time the Fantastic Four become the Fantastic Eight,
Fantastic 4 years,
Fantastic 4 years, yes, plus. No, George, I really hope sincerely that you feel the same, if not the exact same, but you feel a similar energy to us, because you, of course, have been on the journey of going through the 4 previous adaptations with us. And yeah, there's been some highs, there's been some certain lows, but we're on the other side. We're in a brave new world. We're in a fantastic zone, and long may this energy continue into the future of not just the MCU, but hopefully, like, this run. If they get a sequel, if God forbid we get a trilogy, I hope this energy continues on for a while, and it isn't just a one and done film.
Yeah,
really
no, definitely not.
Yeah.
Before we go, that I like to apply, ranks and numbers to things. So, out of curiosity, what would you give this film out of 5 stars then?
Oh, out of 5 stars. Oh, and I'm trying to be better on not giving it halves and in between numbers. So
I always go halves.
You're gonna go halves. Are you going to go halves? Are you giving it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was very, very. I will say this: I was very close to a 5, but there are just a couple of niggles. One of them being, as you said, the familiarity of the Silver Surfer defeating Galactus type of thing. Even though I was waiting for it, I was like, "We've seen the beats before." I could, and she did disappear, as you say, for a little bit long when you were waiting on it. But other small nitpicks, but I would still have to at least go 4.5. And so I did. I went 4.5 stars on my Letterboxd with the proviso that it was very close to ticking over to a 5. I just couldn't quite put it there. But I mean, as I've thought about it since, there's been a few times where I was like, should I have gone that 5? Because I really did love it. But but 4.5 officially, I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, as we're doing halves, as Michael has unofficially given me permission to go with my gut, I'm gonna. I genuinely was close to a 5 like you. Aside from like my nitpick about the Silver Surfer and not just doing the same beats, it was just more like, oh, I know she was coming, but like, it felt like that was like 20 scenes ago by the time she like fucks off for what's only about 25 minutes of screen time. It felt like there was a movie or a bit of a movie missing that she then just, for the script reason, suddenly just turns up. And that's why I was like, it could be that little bit better, in my opinion. And then again, Invisible Woman's powerful, and the third act action sequence with Galactus is brilliant. And I get he's a giant stomping motherfucker, and he can't. There's only so much you can visually do with a giant that's literally stomping and crushing things. But if I was to nitpick, and not nitpick anything about the actual action sequence itself, it is just Sue holding her hands out, using the invisible force that obviously is powerful and can repel him back into a black hole into the the MCU cosmos, and he's obviously not dead but forever out there somewhere. And Johnny doing his occasional flying around and the thing smashing buildings with, of course, his physique and redoing all sorts of stretchy, ridiculous angles. Like I don't, without trying to like bring it down a bit, it felt like compared to just other MCU general action sequences, this isn't going to be nowhere near the tops of anyone's.
Oh, I disagree. I loved it, but that's just me.
I liked it. I'm not saying I didn't like it or it was totally crap. I'm just saying, really, like, without really breaking it down or trying to like deconstruct it, it was just Sue holding her hands out for quite a bit of time. By all means,
come on, the special effects, the way they visualized the force field in this one, I thought was fantastic.
And even Johnny's flames were gorgeous as well. Like, he looked so much better than I was actually expecting him to be. Like,
how cool was that scene where there's a power cut and Johnny just sets his flame on to give them some light, and it's just like a guy burning in the middle of the house, just looking pissed off at me.
No, I mean, I don't even know why I'm thinking those thoughts, but I'm.
I mean, a lot of people have said similar, but for me, I loved that action sequence, and I liked the way, like I said, that Sue's force fields were visualized in this film. I think it had a lot more kind of depth and a bit more of kind of that reflective, like the kind of rainbow reflecting you get off a bubble kind of effect. And a lot of people have already said it, but I am just so relieved that she didn't start freaking her nose bleeding because of the effort, because I'm so tired of seeing that shit. I was like, if her nose starts freaking bleeding. But it didn't, because she's better than that.
No, I mean, she's so much better than we thought we give credit to. That is Vanessa Kirby.
Since we're about to end, I'll end on a little bit of a jokey thing that I also saw, which was that oh man, Sue's gonna have a terrible parenting job ahead of her, because can you imagine, like, when Franklin gets to be a teenager and he's like in the huff, or she won't let him stay out late, and he's like, Mom, remember when you died and I saved your life? Oh shit.
Oh dear.
All right. Remember how I brought you back to life, Mom? Like, oh, right. Stay out till 11 then.
No later than 4.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, no later than 4.
Oh, bless.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, this movie did bring a great big grin. Even now, it's positive. I want to. By the time this comes out, I should have seen it 2 days ago. I hopefully can see it tomorrow at time of recording.
Oh,
I do.
cool.
This
I
again,
can't wait to see it again. Yeah.
let alone own it. Like as soon as it comes up on
definitely
Amazon, I'm pre-ordering this straight to fucking basket.
When I can freeze frame those Easter eggs in 4K resolution, you best believe I'm going to be doing.
Oh boy. Oh boy, yeah. No, this movie was truly fantastic. All the memes are correct. It definitely just reminds you that sometimes this movie binging, sometimes this whole nerdy escape of just watching repetitive takes on certain things over and over and over again, it sometimes is worth it. There is a treasure chest or amongst the Holy Grail, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel at times. And this movie is a gorgeous light into a hopeful, positive, and more optimistic MCU going forward.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers and toes and everything crossed.
Well, did you want to give the usual sign off, Connor? Because you have it memorized and I don't have this first clue what it usually is. You go for it.
Sign off. What is a sign off? I just say, guys, thank you for watching the video. Again, for those that have stuck with us, thank you. For those that have been on this fantastic journey of these reviews, of course, Michael stepping in because George being the kind of surrogate Reed Richards going into not just it isn't technically his first steps. This is his second steps because he's already done the parent thing. This is take 2. Oh yeah, actually, you know what? It was Rise of the Silver Surfer. This is the remake. This is the first steps.
I look forward to many more years of hearing him watching Power Rangers with the other child now and everything. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, well he can't escape it now. He's fucked. He's fucked. Yeah, guys, for those that have stuck with us, for those that have actually been on this journey with us, regardless of whatever order these videos do come out in, thank you. You know, your support is continually appreciated, and again, it never goes forgotten. You know, again, see this movie. I hope you feel the same energy that we do, because when there's something positive, all we got to do is share and boycott and spread it loud, and then all the other negativity and rubbish you see online, in whatever subject that is. You know, back to important stuff. You can send us your sequel ideas, any potential fan casting, any potential villains that somehow wasn't mentioned in this movie, to nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com. Again, social media links in the below: Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, eventually Xbox Live, PlayStation Network. Insert future gamer links here somewhere. Yeah, just you know, like, subscribe, comment, and at the end of the day, just be fantastic. And Mike, do you want to plug anything?
Yeah, you'll not find any of my podcasts on gaming platforms, I can tell you that much, but you can find me on if you're on YouTube, look up either Silver Screen Podcast for Silver Screen regular, classics, or cult, just film reviews, very similar to the ones you'll have heard me doing for the Fantastic Four. It's doing really well, that channel. It's just got over 1,000 subscribers, so we're hoping to take that to the next level and do really well. I also have Hit or Miss Who Track on YouTube, which is just reviews of, as the title suggests, Doctor Who and Star Trek. So if you're a fan of those nerdy things, do sort of click over there. Or if you would rather not watch but listen, I don't love it because I do put some visual flair into my editing, but you can listen to all of my podcasts by going for and looking for Media Matters Podcast Network on any of your audio podcast providers. So,
well, that's it. But also, we got a guest appearance by the Silver Surfer herself.
Yes, I herald this podcast's end.
I say that's the answer to my question. That's why you changed.
I had to make the pun.
You herald this podcast end. Hopefully not for good. No. If you're going to herald anything else, not just for you, Mike, but also to the audience. We're not heralding this franchise's end. We're not heralding this run. We're not
just meant this
heralding
episode. Jesus.
We're not heralding anything negative. We're going to turn. Well, if the silver service back, we're going to make her gold. We're going to make her better.
This is not like a giant Oscar statue, wouldn't
it? Yeah, exactly. The Oscar surfer. No, again, when I hear Herald, it honestly just makes me so nervous and shit myself. So, guys, this is not the end. We're not heralding the end of. Ignore Michael's profile picture. This is not the end of the podcast. It's not the end of the first steps. This is going to be, a wild ride past the Avengers and the MCU reboot that probably will happen, as Feige recently slipped on recently. Yay, however you feel about that. But yeah, regardless of all of that, Fantastic Four 2 can hopefully happen. And Silver Surfer, if you don't like that, you can shove that up your pipe, you surf bitch.
All right, geez, very sorry. I know there wasn't any of this energy with the big planet-eating guy. You were like, nah, he's fine.
Well, yeah, because he was just a guy with a mask on. You're scary. You Silver represents something.
There you go.
Oh, now he's going back to cute and cuddly.
Clever little bugs.
Oh, all right. Oh, I can. Silver. You know what? I feel like, oh no, it's gold and it's Cybermen. Obviously, silver. It's gold they don't like.
Yeah,
right.
They're allergic to gold.
Yeah. All right, let's end this before more nerdy randomness comes out. Like, comment, subscribe, and be fantastic.
Indeed, and herald the beginning of a new podcast. Bye.
Stay fantastic.
Stay pasty. Stay fantastically pasty. Yeah, I remember your sign.
Just like that. Just backside. What?